left school, I'm actually a little bit nervous because obviously it's going into another classroom. I'm a little bit worried about how the children are going to be.
So it'd be nice to see what it's like to work in a newly built, purpose-built school.
How will two primary teachers fare when, never having previously met, they swap classrooms? And what will they learn from the experience?
Who's the letter from? It doesn't show it on the board. Who's the letter from? You can deduce from there.
Matt Bull is a Class 5 teacher at Horsenden Primary in West London. His school buildings are only a couple of years old.
So, look at each other's work, have a go at evaluating each other's work.
By contrast, Suvir Rai teaches in the oldest school buildings in Ealing. But it doesn't stop her organising her classroom at North School, West London, according to modern ideas.
Set your partner a target that they need to work on to improve that discussion. In terms of organisation of my classroom, I think very carefully about how to seat my pupils. The ones that I think need a little bit of extra support will sit closer to me, so close to the board where they can keep eye contact with me and the board. And the ones that I think maybe need buddy support, I will pair them up with somebody that will actually be a good peer support for them, encourage them to have another go and have another look at their task.
What you need to reply, you need to persuade.
4 miles away at Horsenden Primary, Matt enjoys the benefits of a new build classroom kitted out with the latest technology.
Within my classroom, the children will be seated in mixed ability groups. Every teacher knows that certain children will not get on with others, so looking through your pastoral records and how children work most effectively is where I'd like to put them. The interactive whiteboard is situated at the front. My computer and the hardware that goes with it is accessible for obviously the children to use. I think it's very important for not just you to use it, for them to understand and to use it as well. Don't worry about your spellings, not yet. It's a lot harder on the board, as we all know. Excellent, well done. One of the things which I find difficult or challenging is actually to do mind gym with the class. Although things can be done in their seats, it obviously limits where they can move and how I can move with the children. You stand still. Okay. A, B, C, D. All that's doing is making your brain think, both sides of your brain, and getting you ready to work.
Anything else? A few years ago, I went on a training course looking at how peripheral environments can impact on children's learning. So as a school, we decided to take this training on board and change the way we did in-class displays and make them more learning-based, whereas the outside corridor displays are more humanities and children's work-based. So with that, we had selected colours, and one of which is yellow, which is the colour I've chosen for my classroom, because it is actually supposed to help children pick information out rather than actually confuse them about what they're trying to look for. With your partners is to see if you've actually stuck to the
We've got vocabulary on one set colour for a board, we've got questions on a different set colour, so children can very easily pick out the information that they need. On our maths wall, we will have the methods that we've decided to teach for that year, the set methods displayed, so the children can constantly refer to them, we can refer to them in our teaching. The boards are there for constant referral by the pupils to help them in their learning process.
I do have washing line displays to display work which the children have done, not only in my class, but for my literacy and numeracy. I do like the children to show off what they've done. One of my washing lines has some work I've done with the children based on some water topic. What I've done is put a picture of themselves in the background as a watermark for them to actually work on within their classroom. All the things which I have hanging up, my blow-up toys, as people would say, I do like the classroom to be lively, fun, energetic, which may reflect on how the children see me.
Our children have been, I think, trained, maybe a word, to self-evaluate their own learning, and also peer-evaluate their learning. They start off by looking at their own work against the objective that was set and consider the amount of effort they feel they've put into it, and then the overall achievement they feel they've got at the end of it. Then they swap with their peer, buddy, support partner and actually look at each other's and evaluate each other's work, again for effort and achievement.
If we go back up, at the beginning of the year, as a class, we talk about effective learning and learning styles, and the children will fill in a form, and that will distinguish whether they are visual, auditory or kinesthetic learners, or a combination. It's for them to see how they best learn, and it's something for adults to see, so I do display it in the classroom, and the other children that come in can see how other children or their friends learn as well. I do have a very small book corner, but I have tried to utilise the space very well. I've got my books which I've brought in as a teacher over the years, and also books which we have from the school library. It gives the children the opportunity to have a new space to go to when they particularly need to go, where they need to change their book within the classroom time.
Have a go at that on the Anne's. Okay. Now can you see, Leanne, that she's gone back to Mrs. Red? Okay, guys, I'm going to leave you to another teacher, and I'm just going to go to his school and have a go at teaching his Year 5 class. So you have to promise me that you're going to be good. Okay, bye.
Have a lovely afternoon, 5S. Enjoy yourselves. Bye.
Although they've never met, Suvir and Matt have bravely agreed to swap classrooms. Are they looking forward to it or feeling apprehensive?
Now that I've left school, I'm actually a little bit nervous because obviously it's going into another classroom. I'm a little bit worried about how the children are going to be, but at the same time, I am looking forward to it.
I'm now on my way to Matt's school, which I'm quite excited about because I'm looking forward to teaching a different class to my own. I'm also quite excited to be teaching in a school that's been newly built. I think it's only about 2 years old, so that'll be interesting because I work in the oldest school in the borough.
Will the experience lead them to make changes in their own classroom on their return and encourage them to share tips? How will Suvir cope with the challenge of Matt's customised interactive whiteboard?
Good morning, Mrs. Rice.
Okay, now the Blue Cross sale, they have 10% off. So we're going to first learn how to take 10% off our £50 CD player. So 100%, not used to writing with these. It's very, how do you rub it out? Does he not have a normal board? This one? Okay, thank you very much. Who can come out and be numbers for me? Anybody? Okay. Right, you can be a number. How would you answer questions? Do you want to be a number? Okay, come on then. We're going to divide by 10. So to divide by 10, my numbers have to all move in which direction? If you're looking at it, which direction do they move? Do they move to the right or do they move to the left? Which way do they move?
Right.
Well done, to the right. How many times? 5 times? No, once. Once because we're dividing by 10. So could all my numbers move one place to the right? Does the decimal place move? No, okay. No, our right, so you're going to your left. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, first of all, so thank you very much for letting me come along. Today we're going to look at something, if I look around, I know you've looked at already, and we'll see how it goes. A volunteer, brave enough to come out. I'm not going to blindfold you, which is what I do in my class, but who's willing to come out? Thank you very much. In this bag, which is full of money, no, it's not. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and if you can face your audience, and feel for something, bring it out, not yet, and try and describe to people what you think you've got in there. So, put your hand in, fantastic. What do you think that could be?
Vase.
Okay, what did you say again?
A vase.
A vase, a vase, okay. Open your eyes. Can anyone see anything which this links to in this room here? Everyone say it? Greece. Yeah, your groovy Greeks, fantastic, okay? So, there you go. We're going to combine your groovy Greeks with top trumps. And that sounds strange, but you'll all know in a few minutes, okay? Does anyone recognise anything to do with this symbol? Who am I thinking of?
It's Batman.
Fantastic, well done. Okay, next one. Whisper it to the person next to you, see if you're right. And you can say it? Okay, fantastic.
Assessing the current organisation of the two classrooms, our experts have a tip or two to suggest.
Now, Sylvia and Matt explained to us very clearly why they organise their classrooms as they do. What they have in common is that their children are seated in groups of 4 to 8 around a surface, maybe on 2 sides, maybe on 3 sides. It's a great arrangement for children working in groups. Actually, we don't do much of that. The most common activities for children are working as part of a whole class or working on their own. And when they do work collaboratively, it's usually in pairs. So my tip for teachers is horseshoes, or sometimes in L shapes, can be a better configuration when the task is not to work in a large group.
One of the problems with ringing a bell every 45 minutes and compartmentalising children's learning is that we end up building huge amounts of school physical space to circulate the children. We have corridors and stairwells. Most of these walls aren't structural. Knock them down, the classrooms will be 20% bigger. You won't have naughty children unsupervised. Learning will be stellar. Go to it.
Following the swap, Sylvia and Matt meet for the first time. They share what they've learned from the experience and offer fresh ideas to each other.
Matt, I think one thing you could try looking at is the colours that you use for your display backing, because and just bearing in mind how they might impact on learning. So maybe think about how you could change maybe the way you display their work on the walls, and the colours that you might use for vocabulary, and think about how it could impact on the children.
One thing I'd like to do in your classroom is get rid of your teacher desk. I don't use one myself because obviously in my room there's not enough space, but you could utilise that space for a bigger or a larger book corner, or more space for the children to actually have a quiet area or a fun area to use.
I like the idea of having a bigger book corner. It's something I would definitely look into, because I think it is, having seen yours, I think that was really good, and I would like a more comfortable area for the children to sit back and maybe have some quality time or some reward time.
2 weeks have passed. It's time to visit our teachers and see whether they've put any of the tips into practice or made any alteration to their classroom layout or displays.
The tips I received were very good. Something which I will be definitely taking on board in September with my new class is my table layout, and perhaps looking at some of the advice with the horseshoe shape.
I think the one tip I will implement is putting in a book corner, maybe a larger book corner next year, because I hopefully will have less children. At the moment I have 32, but with 2 extra children this year it meant squeezing in another table. But I'll look into maybe reducing some storage space and keeping the book corner and keeping the class space. To a planning for discussion text.
One change I have made already, which was involving my children, talking to them about displays and the whole process. And one idea they came up with was to have a display space for themselves, obviously with boundaries which are educational. And this has happened already. It links in with the World Cup, and it was a display to do with one of their football clubs.
I found it interesting that one of the tips was knock out your corridors, and if we had the money, because there's a lot of work that we need to do to school, it's a very old building, it's 150 years old. So if you're willing to give us the money, who knows what we might try.